What's up everyone, this is Minnie here today with the next installment in my series on how I build it. Today we're going to be discussing how I build out the tier 8 Russian premium carrier, the Chkalov, and all of the stuff I use on it. This is a newer ship to World of Warships released in late 2021, and it is a blast to play. Before we get into what I put on the ship, of course, it comes with torpedo bombers, standard dive bombers, and then skip bombers. Both the dive bombers and the skip bombers are HE, and of course, torpedoes are torpedoes. Now, with the commander, I run Kuznetsov on my Chkalov, but the reason I run Kuznetsov on my Chkalov is because I don't have Alexander Ovechkin. If I had any of the Ovechkin captains, I would run Ovechkin, because Ovechkin gets the advantage of having the survivability expert increased aircraft HP not by 25, but by 30. Advantage also to Kuznetsov, though, is Will for Victory getting the HP recovered has allowed me in the past to get out extra strikes that I wouldn't have otherwise, so it is worth considering and using for that. I don't find emergency reserves to really matter on the Chkalov, but Will to Victory has been helpful, but I would take Ovechkin if I had him. As for commander skills, this is one of the few times I actually completely agree with the recommended skills for the ship for the captain. At tier 1, you want to take the air supremacy as always, because you want to get those aircraft coming back quicker because you need them. At tier 2, the torpedoes are really strong. If we look at the torpedo bombers, you'll see it's 5,200 max damage, and there is 6 of them, so you're looking at a 30,000 and change alpha amount of damage. So I like to increase that because these do wonders against battleships and slow cruisers, especially if you're getting up tiered to tier 9s and tier 10s, which happens a fair amount. So I like to take torpedo bomber to lower the arming distance because they're slow. I like to take swift fish to increase the torpedo speed because they're slow. And then improved engines because all of these planes are super slow. So having that extra 2.5% speed boost is nice. At tier 3, I like to take Pyrotechnician. Now, the HE rockets doesn't do anything for us, but having the 5% increased chance on bombs is nice because we have 2 sets of bombs, and so that bumps our chance on the dive bombers to 55% from 50, and on the skip bombers from 50% once again to 55%, which is really nice to have that extra chance. You really do want survivability expert because since you've got one-shot strikes with these and you're not coming around for a second run with them, you want to make sure as many of your planes survive to the target. So you want the survivability expert and you want the enhanced aircraft armor to reduce the flak because you're going to hit flak. Continuous AA damage reduction I actually do not take on this one, though I take it usually on CVs, because of the fact that you're trying to stay out of AA until you're doing your run. So it's nice, but that one's far less effective and useful than flak and extra health. Finally, at tier 4, I like to take Proximity Fuse to increase the anti-torpedo protection negation by 10%. Once again, with 5,200 damage max torps, you can truck battleships and cruisers with these, so being able to negate that torpedo protection and increase the damage you do is always nice. I have seen people that will take bomber flight control because it gives the skip bombers and regular bombers that 5% speed increase, which isn't a bad choice on a Chkalov because of the fact that 2 out of your 3 are bombers, but I think it is worth less than Proximity Fuse, and I do think you need the AA shell damage reduction. I've also seen a couple people debate taking Hidden Menace, because while the speed of the returning air squadrons goes lower, your ship detectability range dropping by 15% is nice because of the fact that you can push your ship closer to the enemy, which really works well in the Russians because of the fact that they have the jet, the rocket-assisted takeoff. So Hidden Menace is another one you could consider taking, but I messed around with it. I didn't like it as much as this more standard build. Next up, the modules you want to take on the Chkalov. You get 5 of them because it's a tier 8. In the first slot, you always want to take Air Groups Mod 1 to get the squadrons returning 20% quicker. That's especially useful if you're also taking Hidden Menace because the 50% slower, so this balances it back. In slot 2, you want to take Aircraft Engines Mod 1 because that increases the engine boost duration by 10%. And because these things are slow, being able to boost for 10% longer is a big pickup. In slot 3, I like to take the extra speed. The skip bomber modification and the torpedo bomber to get extra attack time, you don't really need it because you're going to be going in hard and fast, so you're not worried about that. So having the torps move a little bit quicker is very valuable. Secondary battery modification is something that could be considered because you actually have really decent secondaries with a 6.9 kilometer range, but it is not, in my opinion, worth it over the 5% torpedo speed buff. In slot 4, I like to take the torpedo bombers modification because, like I said, this is your best weapon in my opinion. These things hit like a truck, so having health to make sure you get as many torps out is great. And the great thing about the torps is if you haven't played it, you can launch the torps at the bow or at the side and you're still going to hit torps because of how they cluster. Bomber modification, skip bomber modification for health is nice. If you weren't wanting to take torpedo bombers, I would take the regular bombers because those are the ones you have to get the closest to drop, because obviously skip bombers you can drop further away, but I go with the torpedo bombers. And then finally in slot 5, flight control modification 1 to get those extra carrier deck places and lower the aircraft preparation time. If you were going for a get as dark as possible build so that you can be as close to the enemy as possible, concealment system mod would make sense then because it would lower you by 10%, which would drop you from 13.2 to 11.9, and then you'd also be able to tag in the 15% to get you down to 10 kilometers or so. But I find it to be more worthwhile to have the extra planes. I think you're going to sit back and then you wait until you have the careful time and then you push in. Finally, let's talk about what you're going to take on the ship. For the camo, I take the standard Chkalov camo. The XP per battle and the cost of post-ship's battle service is nice. If you want to use it to grind out Commander XP or free XP, then obviously you can go through your camos and find ones that do that and put that on. But there's no reason not to take the permanent. In signals, because it's a high tier premium ship, I always run all the economic and special flags I have. That way I'm making as much Commander XP, free XP, base XP off it as possible. And then for combat flags, I usually run 3 flags on it. I run the secondary battery firing range because the secondaries on this thing are actually really good. They remind me of Graf Zeppelin secondaries. And so having those have that extra little 5% range is a nice touch if you're getting chased by a DD, because I have killed DDs with that bonus range. I also run the Juliet Whiskey Unknown flag because you get the 15% chance of causing flooding with an aerial torpedo, so that has increased our torpedo bombers' flood chance significantly upwards. And then I take Victor Lima because you get the 4% chance of causing flooding with aerial torpedoes, and you get the HE bomb 1% buff, which helps with the bombers. I do not see absolute need to take any of the others here. Of course, if you're playing competitive, November Echo Set 7 is never a bad idea. The ship speed for Sierra Mike's not a bad idea, and then the flooding and fire extinguishing times aren't bad ideas. But these are the 3 flags I'm running in randoms. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel to help me keep making more great content. This is Minnie, signing off.